Hey guys, this is the Rant Kid here, and I just got done making my anniversary video, the 8th anniversary video, which wasn't that long ago. So this is pretty much uploaded the next day or whenever the hell I upload this, you know me. And today I'm going to be talking about the controversy, mostly on Twitter, about a movie called Turning Red. It's basically this upcoming Pixar movie about a girl that can turn into a red panda for reasons, because I'm sorry, I haven't really looked up the fucking synopsis or whatever the hell. So it pretty much touches on that, and it also touches on the topic of girls growing up and experiencing things like puberty. And obviously a certain side of Twitter just was not having any of that. Finding out that this is a movie where it's this girl and she's of Chinese descent and going through these changes in her life, and now this is bad because politics and yada yada yada, all this other stuff that's been going back and forth. Now, half of this practically kicked off because of a Twitter user that I personally follow. I'm always liking his content, his jokes or whatnot. So I'm not going to put his name out there because I rock with him. And plus, hell, even if you look it up, his name is going to pop up. So I really don't even have to tell you his name. So it started this whole thing where basically he's saying, him and other people that do agree with him in the comments are talking about how, oh, this movie isn't like when I was a kid in the 90s or the 2000s. And it basically brings about this discussion about mostly just grown-ass men talking about how everything now isn't catering to them when they were kids, which is something that I've always kind of wanted to touch on, and I might do a rant about it, about how these people that are so obsessed with nostalgia that they refuse to let kids of this generation have anything that's their own or represents them, and it's not always harking back to the past, because I'm not a person that rehashes the past. I don't go back and try to redo and relive certain things. I wouldn't go back and try to wear the old Rant Kid stuff that I wore back when I was 14, 15. I believe in moving on so that way you can have some new memories or whatever to have, instead of clinging on to nostalgia so desperately. Because personally, to me, I think that's ridiculous, because at one point you gotta let go of the past. But there's also another argument that they have talking about how just because it's for kids or whatever doesn't mean it gets an excuse of being poorly made or the art style looking the way that it does, which is true, because just because it's a kid's movie or if it's any piece of media like that, it needs to look good, because you can't just give kids something that looks like a fucking mockbuster movie made by the Asylum. They need something that actually looks like quality, because I know, me growing up in the 2000s, we had quality shows, but then again we didn't, because most people, at least most animation nerds or whatever you want to call them, look back and talk about this whole thing, how it wasn't that good. But then there's even people on Twitter trying to say that people are only mad at this movie because it features a Chinese girl in it as the main character instead of it being a guy and all this other stuff, which to me, obviously, that's not the reason people hate it. People have a beef with the art and the idea of them making a movie about girls going through puberty, and also trying to imply that it's going to talk about stuff that's woke, it's going to talk about social whatever, when in reality the movie takes place in 2002. All of this stuff, this whole rants that I've done, basically about the whole woke stuff, happened in 2014 to 2015. The movie takes place between 2002 and 2003, when I was 2 or 3 years old. Hey, the movie takes place in the early 2000s, so it wouldn't make no sense if they're talking about all these topics that wouldn't be common or much more prominent until the last decade all the way up to now. So implying that this is going to be some sort of woke movie or whatever makes little sense. And I know people hate that because it's always in regards to a person of color being the lead character or a bunch of them being lead characters, and how a certain side of the internet hates to see them have their representation, when in reality it's mostly them having a gripe with the writing. It has little to do with the identity of the characters, because just because your character is this, that, the other, they go by such and such, doesn't automatically mean that the movie is going to be good. That's something that I cannot stress enough. Just because, like, it's just, with me, I have my own characters that I pretty much market. Well, I make like comic books of them or whatnot, which you would see on my Instagram if any of you even follow me on there. And I don't promote it based on the identity of the characters. I promote it based on the plot, about what it's about, the lore, like where did they get their powers, stuff like that, that matters. It's not, because identity doesn't carry a series. This is a lesson that shows like She-Ra and Steven Universe never learned, but most people will say that everything has to look like that. And then you get people bringing up the point, talking about how if Studio Ghibli made Turning Red, then everybody would love it, which that's also bullshit, because one, they did do a CG movie called Earwig and the Witch, and it was trash. And two, I don't know. So make number two of what you will. But I just think that this whole controversy is ridiculous, and then you get people faking a certain screenshot of him talking about a topic that I can't talk about on YouTube because reasons. And just so much ass kissing of Disney that I'm seeing on there. Like, because it's just, to me, I think it's going too far, because this is just the movie. And plus, it's not like Pixar is going to give any of these people a job for reporting this person, probably doxing them soon. You won't get a job from doing all of this. So I really don't see what's the point of this whole hoopla. Like, I just think it's ridiculous. I think this is all crazy that all of these people on Twitter, mind you, are being this upset about his opinion. Because like I said, he has his opinion. And then, it's always about the Cal Arts argument, which is an argument that really needs to go away, because half of the people that make modern or Western shows, as most of these anime fans, or these kinds of anime fans like to call it, all of these people haven't even gone to Cal Arts. You could say that you took an animation course or an art course, whatever it is, in France. They'll still say that it's Cal Arts. Because last time I checked, I didn't know California was in France. That's new information to me. I didn't know. Because apparently these people don't know where California is. Red Hot Chili Peppers know where California is better than anyone. They got songs about it, album about it. So I don't know why people still use this argument. Especially, this is an argument made by a guy, aka John Kay, who's more famous for doing evil things behind the scenes of Ren and Stimpy than his actual work. So I wouldn't quote a guy that did really, really horrible things that are too graphic to mention on this site. So I wouldn't quote a guy like that, because that term is mostly applies to stuff like the Iron Giant or the Incredibles. That's what Cal Arts mostly represents. It does not represent Steven Universe, Gravity Falls, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, another show that I want to talk about with that atrocious ending, and so on and so forth. They even mentioned Gumball in these cases, which it's just not that. Like, because it's just hard to compare a show like Gumball to all these other ones, because Gumball utilizes tons and tons of other art styles and different forms of animation, like stop motion, live action, straight up animation. So you can't really just put this one little label into it, because that's just really, really ridiculous, if we're being honest. But I just think this whole controversy is just really dumb. And on one side of the fence, people shouldn't really be this upset about the art style, because I could commend them for trying something different. And I get this whole argument that the people who support the movie say, talk about nostalgia, because it is kind of true, because some people do have to let go of the past. I understand that everything was awesome, but that's nostalgia. Nostalgia makes everything from the past seem like it was much better than what's going on now. That's why it's the term called nostalgia. That's why it's in the name, that it makes life from when you were a teenager or whatever, to make it seem like it was really, really awesome. That's just how that happened. So to wrap this up, I just want to say that I'm not on a specific side per se. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. I agree with the side that supports it, and I agree with the side of people that hardly support it or might not even watch the movie, because most of these people making a fuss about movies like this end up never watching them, which is weird to me, because what's the point of having all of this vitriol and hatred for a film that you're not going to watch? That just sounds ridiculous to me. So it's just like you're doing these internet arguments, going back and forth, wasting their time and your time. It's ridiculous. So all I'm going to say is that I hope you guys like this video. And matter of fact, why don't you tell me in the comments section, why do you either support the movie or you don't like the movie, even though it's not out yet? Still weird. So just tell me what you think about this Turning Red movie, and if any of you know about this controversy, because it kind of leaked its way out of Twitter and so on and so forth. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Check out this video. Share this video with other people, and even some of my other videos, because I mostly just do rants on here, and sometimes I might do opinion pieces like these. And if you like me doing stuff like this, I'll probably do that more and try to balance out some of the Ranting Marauder material. So, peace.